And as always, the bit of housekeeping really to get started. If you can keep yourself on mute whilst you're on the call, that'd be great. Just helps us get through the content without background noise. If you've got any questions throughout the call, please stick them in the chat box. John, who's on the call, is going to chair the Q&A. We'll probably have two little sessions as we go through the slide deck. There's quite a lot to cover, but we are going to be on for about 45 minutes to an hour, no longer. Obviously, if you want to keep the camera on, please do. And beyond that, we will get going. So yeah, thanks for joining us. For those who don't know me, my name is Simon Hards. I'm Assistant Director of Cricket Participation at the Foundation. Yeah, we've got a fairly long agenda this evening, but it is mainly updates and discussion or reflections and stuff like that. So we should get through the content fairly quickly, but there probably will be questions that come out, and just obviously get them in the chat box. So we're going to look some reflections from last year. We'll look at the club support program, review of that, and the whole structure around working with clubs. We're going to look at some funding opportunities. So that's one to definitely switch on for, because there's within cricket there's lots of funding available to support clubs moving forwards and for clubs doing the right things. We're going to touch on national programs situation where that is at the moment, and then we'll pause for some questions. Then Gavin's going to take us through disability champion clubs. We're going to talk coach education, officials education. We're going to touch upon safe hands management, but very briefly. Touch on our impact report, and then back to Gav to look at an area of the game, cricket for good in terms of Street Child United. And then we'll finish with a couple of sort of announcements and opportunities, and then have a second round of questions and answers. Obviously, we'll hopefully be able to answer all your questions this evening. Anything we're not able to answer, we will pick up with you in due course. Okay, so reflections on 2021. I thought it was just useful for us as a foundation to reflect back on what happened last year. I've put a few things up there, I could put a whole range of other things up there as well. But first of all, taking the top right there, the pandemic. I think this time last year we weren't allowed to be doing any indoor activity. So a lot's changed in 12 months. And I know during the middle of the summer, there was very much a spike in infection that impacted cricket. But hopefully, we'll be out into the season in a much better place than we were this time a year ago. But we still did have the pandemic impacting us as a game last year, which makes the next reflection all the more impressive, really. So there's an overarching theme of growth within what's happened within the game in the past 12 months and probably 24 months actually. So number of matches played in Surrey in 2019, obviously pre-pandemic, was 11,200 give or take, and in 2021 there was almost 15,000 games, which demonstrates a 34% increase in matches played, which is phenomenal. And that's been reflected in the growth in both junior and senior teams across the county in the past 12 months or more. Similarly, last year the Surrey Junior Championship had its first proper year of operating with a full league season. Obviously the previous year that wasn't able to happen, and that's been successful, and even more so the entries for this year up by 250 teams, would you believe, which illustrates a 22% growth in the number of teams entering the SJCC this year. So a growing competition there, more people playing, and I think what that reflects back on us as a team is the need to facilitate that growth. So when we come to talk about education, you'll see how we're trying to, as a foundation team, facilitate that growth by growing our programs around the growth in playing participation. Also with that, our team's grown as well. So with the need to train more coaches, for example, we've actually recruited an extra head that supports the work that goes on in the foundation in Daisy, who's supporting across the business. We had the first year of the 100, love it or hate it. It was here and it was successful. It happened. It landed just as the crowds were able to return. I think particularly for the women's game, really seen as a watershed moment in terms of enabling that spotlight to be on the women's game, and the growth that's coming with that is fantastic. The national programs there, All Stars and Dynamos, nationally saw over 100,000 young people participating, and within Surrey it was close to 4,000, I think, across those two programs taking part. And we'll come on to this year for that later in the call. And then the County Grants Fund. So finally, after a number of delays due to the pandemic and obviously the financial difficulties that the game faced, the County Grant Scheme was launched, and we'll come on to that shortly in terms of what's on offer. Final reflection would be that it's not all been plain sailing for the game. Obviously, we know, the news that came out of Yorkshire with Azim Rafiq and the issues around EDI within the game, so equality, diversity and inclusion. There's a lot of work to do there, and some of the stuff that we've been doing already, working on an EDI plan with the ECB. We've been supporting a number of diverse community leagues around the county, working with the African Caribbean Cricket Association, British Tamil League and others to try and support them to grow their opportunities. Also working across the club game as well. So our club support team work with a number of diverse clubs, trying to support their growth and engagement within things like safe hands management and entry into junior championship and stuff like that. We've also put a lot of funding through via ECB into subsidies to support those areas of inclusion and diversity, particularly around women and girls and coaches from ethnically diverse backgrounds, and also coaches with disabilities. So we've invested around £5,000 in supporting coaches in 2021, and we'll come on to what we're looking to bid for later on in the call. And finally, we're looking to recruit a trustee in that EDI space, particularly with a background in African Caribbean cricket, which we'll come on to a bit later in the call. So overarching the reflections for me are that the game is growing, and what comes with that is its own unique challenges around facilities, around coaches, around resource, and obviously we're here to hopefully help you on that. So club support reflection. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank my team. So obviously Mark, Chris and John as the club support officers, and then we have Ali, who runs the education program, particularly coach education and safeguarding, Sarah Lynch, who runs the Surrey Junior Cricket Championship, and then Daisy, who started and sort of does whatever's needed to support the team. There's also then Neil, there's Jess and a number of other people involved within the foundation making a difference. So last year, following the launch of our program in terms of how we wanted to work with the club network, we got in over 120 development plans, which has really helped us to understand the needs within the network. And then from that, we've now identified around 60 clubs that we're specifically working with over the next 12 months or more to deliver specific outcomes. And that could be growing national programs, so All Stars, attendances, through to delivering facilities, through to supporting the recruitment of coaches, anything and everything to support clubs to move forward from where they are. In addition to that, we've run a fairly wide-ranging sort of scheme of webinars covering a whole range of sessions. Just yesterday, a fairly small group finished a bid writing course, which we self-funded as a foundation to help clubs that have got significant facilities projects coming up. And on Monday, we had Dan Allen talking about Sandra said's CCTV. Other ones I wanted to just pick out briefly were walking cricket. So we did a session with Pirbright and T20 Community Cricket around walking cricket, and this is an key area I believe that the game can grow over the next 3 to 5 years. So working with the older generation to support them, providing opportunities for physical activity, mental well-being, social inclusion, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in the walking cricket side of things and getting involved, please get in touch, because we'd love to get lots of different pockets of activity started this year. We're going to be showcasing walking cricket during the lunch break at the championship game at the Oval on Thursday the 5th of May. We've got a sponsor on board to support a bit of competition and really to start driving walking cricket as a opportunity to, for the game to support a whole new range of people across the county. And then we also had Spond. So Spond is a club management tool, and we're looking to work with Spond, particularly in the SJCC around league management, but then within the club management side as well. So they're a digital club management solution. We ran a webinar back along Wimbledon, kindly spoke on that call particularly, and talked about the benefits of using the system. So if you're interested in that, again, reach out. When we send the recording, we'll send these slides, and there'll be hyperlinks within the slides which take you to the parts of our website where you'll find the recordings, where we have recordings. What's coming up? There's a Club Matters workshop on the 29th of March. That is Club for Everyone, so very much looking at that EDI space. So I'd actively encourage people to look at sending somebody on that course, just to really understand how clubs can become that club for everyone. And then I put there what next, and I think that really is a question for everyone on the call, and back at your clubs. What next? What other content would you like to see? What things? Where are the areas you have challenges and struggles that we can hopefully go away and find clubs and organisations that have solved those problems and come back and deliver some content that's going to help you. So please, if you've got ideas, stick them in the chat box. Alternatively, we'll probably come out to the network at some point just to find out what those needs might be. Okay, the important part about the club support team overall is who you're going to call. So I put that down because actually, with a lot of what we see within the within this presentation, within the club world, is it all comes back to the same people, which is these guys. So if you have any issues, any challenges within club and league cricket, these are the guys you want to be speaking to. So Mark, Chris and John, I'll make sure their details are included within the presentation that comes out with the recording. But hopefully you've all, depending on which boroughs you're in, these guys, and you've been having conversations with these guys, because they are the first port of call to support you on everything, frankly. However, unfortunately, we are losing one of them. So John is moving on onwards and upwards, and has recently secured a job working with the pro team within the sort of operational management side of things. So he'll be leaving early next month, and we're currently out to recruit for a replacement, which I'll talk about a bit later. Okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about getting the sort of our strategy, I suppose, back out there. These are slides taken from the presentation we did in December 2020 when we launched the new club support team. And it's just reinforcing what it is we're looking to try and do within the network. So we're looking to engage with every club in the county, and we want to build a two-way relationship with every club in the county. So the ideal for us is that no matter what club where, we have that have a relationship, and we have a line of communication with those clubs. Some of those clubs may not need our help or want our help, but having that line of communication is really important for us. We want to identify and maximize opportunities for growth. So we want to support and service the larger clubs to make sure they're, often their needs are around training and around facilities. Actually, there's some smaller clubs out there just looking to start running junior cricket, or have never considered running junior cricket, where we can deliver significant growth. So we're looking for those opportunities because they will drive growth, which ultimately is what the Inspiring Generations strategy is looking for us to do. We want to provide advice, support, expertise, all those things to the game. And I come back to the previous slide of getting in touch with those guys. They are the first port of call. They are the GP within club cricket. They'll know a lot of information about quite a lot of areas, and if they don't have the answers, they'll come out and speak to these subject matter experts like Jess Ward and Vicky, Neil Bunting and Chanel, to find out the answers to the issues to support you to move forward. So definitely that's going to be reinforced throughout the presentation. And then we want to capitalize on the success of not only 2020, where we came out of the pandemic in a very positive way in terms of the participation across the county, thanks to all the hard work you guys put in, and then what happened in 2021, where that participation grew again. So we want to capitalize and continue to see that that trend. What do we need from clubs? I mentioned 120 plus development plans. Those plans are really important. So making sure that you provide something to the club support team, because that enables us to see the bigger picture across the county, to see how many clubs are looking to develop new nets, how many clubs are looking to enhance their changing facilities. That then helps us formulate our facility strategy and the investment strategy we might need to help support that. Keeping your information up to date on Play Cricket is important as well, because that's the conduit we use for communication. So the information that's gone out to the network has gone out via data from Play Cricket that we've sucked in and used in email. So making sure that's kept up to date is really important, because then we can make sure we're getting the messages to the right people. And then finally, engagement and attendance. So we want people to come along to the borough meetings and engage with that and support those those sessions, because actually a lot of what comes out of those sessions is clubs helping clubs. Come along to the webinars when they are relevant to you and they have an interest. So on Monday we had about 26, I think, on the call, wanting to hear about how Dan developed Sandhurst Says CCTV. Engage within the support program, work with those club support officers, and I put newsletter there at the end. So we have a thing called the Cricket in Surrey Cricket in Surrey updates, and I'm just going to run a quick poll on here. So in a minute, something will come up on your screen asking you 2 questions. First one is, do you receive the Cricket in Surrey update, yes or no? Second one is, do you follow our social media account? So I'm not going to run the poll because it won't let me. That's a shame. Worry not. So one thing we're planning to do on the back of the work that we've done around the communication on Play Cricket is we are looking to send the Cricket in Surrey update to all contacts within Play Cricket on a monthly basis. So we feel that's a good way to work. The Cricket in Surrey update is an update of all of the various opportunities, the news that's coming up, some of the cricket that we might be doing, some of the the good news stories, plus opportunities around training and stuff. If you wanted to sign up for that now, if you're not getting it, you can use that QR code on the screen. If you point your smartphone camera at that, if you've got one, it will take you through to a sign up page where you can sign up to receive future Cricket in Surrey updates. And you'll see on the right there, we've got all of the different social media channels that we have within the foundation. Obviously, for us, that's a big push on that, is trying to get the word about what we offer and what we do out across as many people in the county as possible who have an interest in cricket. And what I would really like clubs to do where possible is to try and pass that on to that next tier. So pass it on to your members, try and get as many members and families inside the circle around knowing what's going on within the foundation, because actually sometimes some of our messaging might help clubs. For example, information comes out about a training opportunity. Well, if you're the person always asking people for volunteers to become a coach, sometimes you won't get that. You won't get that buy-in. I know that myself as chairman of a small club in Berkshire. It might be that getting something around women and opportunities for women directly from the foundation might stake an interest in somebody to want to train. So getting that message out there as wide as possible, I think, is really important. Okay, just going to take a sip. On to funding, and probably why lots of people have come on the call. So the landscape in cricket for funding is actually really strong at the moment, and within Surrey we're really fortunate that we have a strong fundraising element to what we do. So we've not only got significant funds from the ECB around the County Grants Fund, which I'll talk about shortly, we've also got other funding available for the club support team to allocate out to clubs that are working towards specific aims. So in the last 12 months, we've distributed around £100,000 of our own money to clubs across the network, covering things like nets, machinery, revenue costs to start up junior sections, flicks pitches, NTP, so non-turf pitches, support towards developing new grounds. So there is money out there for clubs doing the right things. So I think that all comes back to having a plan in place, having a relationship with your club support officer, coming to talk to them and giving them a flavour of what it is you're trying to achieve and how they can support you to do that. So there is money within the foundation to support clubs who are doing the right things. Equally, within the county grant scheme, we recently heard that we had an uplift in our funding. So we've got to spend by the end of October £250,000 in grants of up to £10,000. Now, using the 120 development plans that we received last year, we drew out all of the facility projects that came out of those plans, which created around about 40 different potentially eligible projects. And we then prioritised those projects as our sort of first tranche of where we were looking to spend that money. And that's been pretty successful. We've spent about £100,000 of that money already. We've also got somewhere between £100,000 to £130,000 of other projects in that pipeline. However, the expectation, seeing standards, will get more budget for 2023, and we are looking for clubs to come forwards where they have projects that meet the criteria that I'll share with you in a minute. In particular, the tackling climate change, that is an area that is open to all clubs, and it's an area that ECB are particularly keen to prioritise. So I'll come to that in a second. The county grants are £1,000 to £10,000. For bigger projects, there is the opportunity to access an ECB loan alongside that, and we do look for partnership funding. We're not looking to give clubs all of the money for everything all the time. We're looking for clubs to come, with a bit of proactivity to show they've got some partnership funding in place quite often. Outside of that, really important to mention at the moment, there are also some funds out there to support storm damage. So Sport England have a fund and ECB have a fund. So if you have suffered storm damage in recent weeks, which I know some clubs definitely have, club support officers, first port of call, to let them know what's happened and how, and they will guide you through how they can support you to apply to either the ECB or signpost you to Sport England. And then there's the Fine Turf Development Programme that's been rolling out that Mark Babb leads on alongside the team of county pitch advisors. And we've been out delivering pitch visits to a number of clubs, identifying the issues that exist within those facilities, looking at new facilities, identifying what work needs to be done to get them back up and running. But there's another pot of funding there that can be accessed to help support the quality of pitches, which, when we've done the player survey for the last 2 years, number one match day experience, most important factor is the pitch. So we acknowledge that, and we put money into a scheme to help clubs improve the quality of their pitches. So the three strands of the county grant scheme. First one is welcoming environments. This is only open to clubs running either national programmes, women and girls cricket, or disability cricket. So bear that one in mind. If you don't offer any of those, you wouldn't currently be eligible for this scheme. However, it's quite a broad and open scheme around possibly doing some of those things that clubs don't normally think about doing because there's something more important to do. So I would encourage you, if you've got at the back of your mind a wish list of actually we probably could do with new furniture, or the IT systems or the TV systems in the clubhouse are pretty dated, there could be an opportunity here. First port of call, speak to your club support officer. They can provide further guidance, the full application guidance, and give you an indication of whether your project might be eligible or not. Second one is providing enhanced facilities and playing opportunities, and we've had a lot of applications that we've put through so far this year have come through this this strand of the funding. You've got to be running women and girls cricket or disability cricket for this. So that's the only clubs that would be eligible at this point in time. And probably at this point, in terms of still looking for clubs to come forward for this year, due to the nature of having to get planning permission in place and so on and so forth, we think that probably it's unlikely we would be able to fund and support any more of these projects coming forward if they're not already in our pipeline. But then the final one is tackling climate change. So as everyone will know, from the 2nd of April, energy prices are going to fly up, certainly within the home, and I imagine in most clubs as well. So now could be the right time to look at energy saving opportunities within the club. ECB, as I say, wanted to prioritise this area, but it's quite niche. So I think what we're saying here is all clubs can apply for this. So if you have a project that you think, oh, actually, yeah, we talked about it, but we've never been able to do it, we'd like to hear from you. There's obviously never any guarantees on funding, and you will need to make sure you've got your plan in place, etc. But we are, keen to hear from clubs that want to make their pavilions more energy efficient and start to work towards that green agenda. Just as a reminder, we're going to stop for some questions in a minute, but there's only one in the chat so far. So if you've got questions, pop them in the chat and we'll cover them off shortly. So who are you going to call? You've heard it a few times already, but any questions, queries, or a desire to look more into that funding, please contact your local support officer. Okay, last little bit, and then we'll pause for any questions that we might have. The national programme, so All Stars and Dynamos, so went live a couple of weeks ago. Been a few teething issues with systems, but they seem to have ironed themselves out now. And in Surrey, we've got close to 1,250 sign-ups across 60 clubs, which I think is probably leading the way within the London counties. So a great start. There's your activators, your leads on the All Stars programme will be receiving updates from Kim and from others within the team. But ultimately, there's been an issue around the club checklist and the activated shop checklist on ClubSpot. That's going to be resolved very shortly. So you'll be able to go in, complete the different checklists that you need to do. So as you can see there, anyone being activated in 2022 will need to complete the activated checklists. New activators will be trained on Zoom and face-to-face, whereas if you've been an activator before, you just do a refresher video, which will be available. There'll be the main contact will have access to a shop to buy additional equipment, and that will be, I think, I'm not sure about Dynamos, but with All Stars, I think for every person that signs up, you get £5 worth of credit. So that's a fantastic opportunity to replenish equipment. Having our club run All Stars and having that money to spend on whether it's new clothes for the activators or balls is always great from our perspective. And so clubs with less than 10 sign-ups can contact their support officer because we've got some flyers we can provide, and members of our support team are also there to try and help you. So if you're struggling with recruitment, please reach out, because actually we've got lots of clubs that are quite good at recruitment, and we can hopefully share some ideas and help get those numbers up within each of those programs we've got. And then finally, the All Stars help desk. So where you have queries, that's a great place to start with. So same with Safe Hands Management. We're sending more and more people to the help desk because ECB have got a really strong customer service team set up now to deal with some of those queries. So if there's any issues, speak to your club support officer. Also email the All Stars email, and hopefully you'll get a response fairly quickly. So, and these are the guys to call. So I'm going to pause for breath now. I'm going to just ask John to unmute. John, so have we had many questions?
Yeah, cheers, Simon, and good evening, everyone. I think there's 3 have come through, unless there's been some more added. So Robert, when we're talking about the SJC and increase of numbers, was saying, is this partly a reflection of the smaller numbers of players in a younger age group teams? I think it's probably fair to say it very slightly might be partly a reflection of that, but I think 250 extra teams probably is above and beyond anything that reducing a team by 2 or 4 players is going to incur. So I think it's potentially could be a few of those teams are reflective of that, but I imagine that a lot of the teams are just in a kind of exponential growth of the SJCC as a league, and highlights the strength of it as well.
Yeah, I think we can run some stats on that just to have a look at that. So we'll try and do that piece of work and share it with the recording if we can. Sorry, John.
Cool. Mike McDonough, what do you mean by targeted draining? It's a very good question. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Simon, do you have a?
I would say, so targeted drainage, Mark's got his hand up, so Mark might be able to help. But what we would do in that instance as well is, I'll unmute you in a sec. You disappeared again. We'll take advice from the ECB guys on that as well. So they oversee the team, and we've got a guy, Duncan Jenkinson, who's very good. Unfortunately, he's left, but we've got an interim contact who we can feed that stuff into. So best thing to do is get in touch to talk about what your project might be, and then we can seek the advice up and down the chain. Mark, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, so on the ECB funding, it's because larger drainage projects require wider feasibility studies. So that's why that specific fund wouldn't be eligible for those. So it'd be kind of smaller drainage projects, or for instance, if you installed a borehole and you're looking for irrigation systems, that type of thing. But for sort of larger drainage projects would be a much bigger project, and that would be a more specified project to go to ECB with. I think that was why that's in there as targeted drainage projects.
Okay, so yeah, larger projects won't be supported, but come and have the conversation. Let's find out what that project looks like, and then give you the exact advice. Because but it is smaller scale work, not the Limpsfield chart style drainage project that you might have seen where they've done the whole ground. Cool.
Tom Mortimer just had a few problems with player numbers in men's adult cricket. So I think Simon will have covered the slides he shared with the club support officers. I think, Tom, I don't know which club you're associated with, but if you contact your relevant club support officer, they can start having a conversation with some potential strategic kind of ideas of how to increase player numbers and have that conversation with you. So yeah, get in touch with your relevant officer. Karen, is there an update on the playing field strategy that you're undertaking this year? So I'm not sure if this is relating to the individual borough playing strategies. So there's 2 playing pitch strategies going underway at the minute, which is in Reigate and Banstead and Mole Valley, which are currently in the process of being finalised. So I'm not sure if, Karen, you're referring to that or a wider playing field strategy.
Could be the facility strategy, which is sort of heading towards, we're about a year ahead of most counties on this, but we're at the point where we're starting to identify a sort of priority action plan, but that will be shared in due course. That's still kind of in progress, if that makes sense.
Cool. Karen's just come back and said Southwark. So Southwark, that would be a Chris Morris question, Karen. So if you contacted Chris Morris, he'd be able to have a bit more information on anything that's happening in the Southwark borough. And that is everything so far. So obviously any more questions, please get them down and I'll answer them after the next section.
Great, thanks, John. So next it's over to Gav.
Cool. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, evening, everyone. Just a quick update from myself. So the ECB Disability Champion Clubs is back, has just opened again this year. The ECB engaged with 100 clubs in 2021, which is fantastic. Their target was to get to 100 and they just about got there. And this is in Surrey, we actually had 9 clubs apply and were successful to become champion clubs last summer, and we're on the lookout for more clubs to support this year. We're actually got a target of sort of 2 or 3, but we'd love to support more. So we're very keen to reach out to the network and see if there's more clubs out there who want to potentially be a club that wants to take more of a lead in their local community around disabilities. That could be stuff like having schools come down to your club during the day and potentially use your use your facilities in your outfield, maybe sort of hosting some matches, potentially even some Surrey matches, as we're looking for more grounds across the county to really showcase the work that goes on, the fantastic work that goes on around disability cricket. And if you are keen to kind of get involved in this and take this forward, we'd love to hear from you. What you receive, so if you were to apply, just to say there's some information that I can pass on to Simon that can be circulated around the club team in the next couple of days or so. The deadline for this is the 6th of May. And if you were successful, and we can help you through this whole process, you'll receive a bag of equipment that's suitable for running some sort of disability activity at your club. At the end of the season, if all goes well, you kind of do a bit of a one-page report for the ECB, for the guys who lead on the disability side of things, and you would receive £500, which can be used to support coaching or putting it back into buying more equipment, or however you see fit, really. And we're really keen to, as I say, like support as many clubs. Just to give you a bit of an idea on some of the ones who were successful last year, it's always nice to sort of say thanks to these clubs. So we've got Wongas, Merstham, Valley End, Rowledge, Pirbright, Frimley Phoenix, Spencer, Epsom and Walton-on-Thames, who all became disability champion clubs last year. So it'd be great to hear from some more clubs who really want to step forward and make a real fantastic opportunity in a local area for groups who want to enhance their disability offer. I think that's about it on that one. Has anyone got any questions on that? Feel free to throw it out.
Well, Gav, we'll come to the questions at the end, if that's all right.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks for that. So there's also probably an opportunity to talk to some of those clubs that have experienced being a champion club as well, if needs be. So I'm sure that, you know, if you're interested in having a chat with one of the clubs to find out what it's all about, that I'm sure Gav can help us coordinate some communication there. Cool. So again, just want to touch very briefly on Safe Hands Management System. That's ECB's online portal to help ensure that all clubs across the county eventually are ensuring that the young people that play there are safe. So making sure that everyone has that should have a DBS check has a DBS check, making sure that there's enough coaches to facilitate the number of players, making sure there's enough, you know, that every captain, there's enough captains for the number of teams the club has, and that those captains have a DBS. This system rolled out last year, you know, not without its challenges, but I think we're really impressed with the amount of work that went into it from across the network to, on the whole, to make sure that, you know, as many clubs as possible were compliant at the end of the season. We're into phase 3 this year, and phase 3 is essentially all clubs running junior cricket that are not currently Safe Hands Management or on that system, shall I say, plus any clubs that are starting running national programs. So if you're not running a junior section, but you've just started your All-Stars, then you'll be invited to join the system. And the club support team have already been in touch with all of these people, all of the clubs involved, and will be working through that process. Alongside that, Club Mark is returning this year. So if you are an accredited club already, you will have received an email from the ECB just outlining the process, which is this year being compliant on Safe Hands Management, and then providing some information around the proactive and proactive leadership section of the portal. You'll complete that. The club support team will work with you on that, and then the ECB will sign it off. Any clubs looking to re-accredit or newly sort of clubs that have started out and want to accredit, you'll have a slightly different process, which will involve a site visit. So if your club is interested in gaining Club Mark accreditation, that we're talking about probably clubs here running junior cricket, then guess what? Speak to these guys. Okay, getting towards the end. So a few bit coach development. So when I spoke at the start, I spoke about the growth that we've seen in the game. And this is an area that we're trying desperately to keep up with the growth within participation by expanding our resources, not only in terms of the number of courses we're running, also the number of coach developers to run those courses, to train as many people as possible, to facilitate, you know, those kids that are going to be turning up at your clubs in the next few weeks. So I've just put a few numbers up there. So in 2021 calendar year, we offered 450 coach development places across our what would have been coach, support worker, support coach, and Foundation 1. In 2022, due to that growth, we're looking to be off. Eventually, we'll offer around 775, give or take, places across those. What is now a support coach program, which is the 3-hour sort of coach support worker replacement. There's the Foundation 1 course, which is the 2-day entry-level coach qualification that trains you to coach groups on your own, and then the core coach, which is the 4-day course, which provides that greater depth, targeting a deeper level of coaching. I think that there's some guidance on our website, but essentially the Foundation 1 is about safe, enjoyable, fun activity, and the core coach is more around developing players, learning how to observe, analyze, and generate feedback. I've just put 2023 question mark because where can we go with this? So Ali, who's on the call, and if he'll answer any questions that come this way, week after week, sourcing new venues, identifying coach developers to go and deliver, growing that program to keep up with the demand, because we know that obviously coaching, is a key part of them supporting the growth in the game. EDI support there, just we made a commitment at the start of the year that every female coach that comes forward on the Foundation 1 or the core coach this year will receive a rebate on completion of the course. We did that before having put our bid into the ECB, so we did that committing our own funds to that, and that would mean that any female attending a Foundation 1 gets £100 back upon completion of the course, and on the core coach they get £150 back. There's no action for anyone to take on that, because we see females booking onto the courses and then we implement that at our end. So it's literally any female that comes forward will receive that funding. Last year we bid for £5,000 from the ECB. This year we inadvertently bid for £250,000 the first time we sent the application in, but that was due to my error. But we've doubled our bid to £10,000 because of the size of the program and the growth that we've got coming. We've also done done a course with ACE and with our diverse communities group, and we're also looking to roll out a course with the MCC as well in the coming months to support more diverse coaches in and around London. And I've put the process, so you won't be surprised to see that slide again, but the process in terms of identifying how to get places on these courses. If you go on our website, you'll find that pretty much everything's sold out all the time, and that's because the process we use, which we spoke about on our coach development webinar, is first and foremost, if you need coaches, put them in your 1-year plan under the people section. Have a conversation with Mark, Chris, or John's replacement in a month or two's time. Let them know the need. So then when a course gets organised in the Guildford Borough, Mark will get prior knowledge of that course. So he'll get a 2-week window where he can offer it to people within his patch who he knows need those places, should I say. So there's an opportunity there for him to say, well, actually, I know, I've got 6 clubs that want 30 places here. So he can then strategically work out how best to manage that. And obviously not everyone can get a place, but he can then ensure that, the clubs he knows need places can get them, versus the old fashioned way of just put it on the website, it'd be fastest finger first. And that might not necessarily be the best way of divvying up those places. Equally, when Mark gets information to say, actually, there's 7 clubs here wanting 40 places and we've only got 1 course, he can feed that back to Ali to say, well, actually, we could do another course here because the demand from the network is such that we need to run more. What I would say is, please make sure that when you come forward that you've got people in mind for these courses. So we do have people say, yeah, we definitely need loads of places, and then when it comes to it, they don't put people on the courses because they don't actually have those names ready. So try to ensure that you have that knowledge coming forward, or that you're going to find those coaches. But that is the process we use in order to make sure that we're being as strategic as we can be. I'm sure there'll be some questions on that. Umpiring and scoring. So again, what do players really appreciate in terms of match day experience? They enjoy, consistent, high quality umpiring and scoring. and I'm no doubt that that exists in lots of parts across the county. However, as we go down to the lower teams within clubs, we might find ourselves having to umpire as players. I'm sure we've all been there. So, you know, the ambition of the ACO, you know, within the workforce plan, that the ultimate vision is that every single game in the county has independent umpires and scorers. Now that is, you know, a fantastic vision, but something that we'll always be working towards and probably never achieve. That can't stop us from trying. So the ACO in Surrey is seen as one of the leading lights within the country. You know, it's largely managed by a group of volunteers, and you know, I take my hat off to them and applaud them for the work they do. Mark, you know, works closely with them now and supporting them, but there's a lot of work that goes into, you know, providing that network, and there's some opportunities there. So you may have seen it on social media, but during the pandemic we ran a online umpires and scorers challenge, and as I think Mark said to me this morning, we hit the perfect storm really, which was lockdown. People didn't have a lot to do. This opportunity came up. It was almost like the only league that was existing at the time for cricket, because at that point we were in March, April with no knowledge of when the game would even be able to be played, and we had something in the region of 1,500 people sign up to the online stage 1 umpiring course. Now obviously the world's changed now and people are back to a much normal footing post-pandemic, but we're looking to run that challenge again, just to try and, you know, encourage clubs or incentivize people to get that training to help ensure that on those match days the umpiring standards go up, where, you know, players are having to umpire because they've got a bit more knowledge. So as you'll see on the right hand side there, we're offering some tickets. So everyone that qualifies from either an umpiring scoring course, we're going to a draw to win some tickets to the London Derby, and also the club with the most number of candidates that finish the course will win £250 worth of coaching resource. So, you know, some good incentives there to encourage those people within those relevant teams to get on and sign up to the course if you can. We've also returned to back to face-to-face training. So there's some stage 1. I think most stage 1 umpire courses are now finished, but there's stage 2 about to roll out, and then there's also some face-to-face scoring training as well. And finally, we've got some the first young officials courses that are rolling out. So these are free courses, and we're running 2, one at Beddington and one at Chertsey. And about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we had 31 people booked on those 2 courses out of the maximum number of 40. So a good opportunity for young people. I want to say 14 to 16, but I might let Mark confirm that a bit later on. But a good opportunity to get those young people some experience and knowledge about umpiring and umpiring scoring, and those guys are, you know, the future of all of our clubs. So the more we can engage people at that age, the better. On that note, I'll just probably also mention the Young Leaders in Cricket programme, which is rolling out this year in Surrey for the first time. John's leading on that. I think we've got in the region of 65 to 70, maybe slightly more, signed up to do a programme at various hub clubs around the county, learning some skills around fundraising, social media, first aid, umpiring and scoring, coaching and groundsmanship, and then gathering and gaining experience volunteering at their clubs during the summer. That programme will expand over years to come, and it really is about trying to engage a younger audience as volunteers with a view to then getting them trained earlier, getting them engaged in what volunteering is all about, understanding the benefits of it. So hopefully, as they, you know, they may go away to university, come back, they'll be, you know, volunteering will be part of what they do. So hopefully that will help us to find more volunteers within the game as we move forwards. Okay. We have an impact report. So I don't know how many people would know that, but over the past few years, we've been delivering an impact report. You know, we're here talking about recreational club and league cricket. Fundamentally, that's kind of, you know, my piece of the jigsaw within the foundation team, but we've also got Kim Price, who oversees kids cricket, so schools, chance to shine competitions, Pride Lions, and Gavin's team, who oversee diversity. They oversee cricket for social good, women and girls cricket, disabilities cricket, So there's a wide raft of things we do. It's a really easy read because it's very much numbers based and sort of infographic based. But I would well obviously send the link to that impact report and really encourage you all to have a look at it and spread the word for us if you can, because we want more people to be impacted by what we try to do as a foundation, and also obviously what you do as the club supporting us. And on that note, I'm going to hand back to Gav, who's going to talk about a particular project that he's working on at the moment, which is highly exciting. So Gav, over to you.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Simon. So just a bit of an update on our kind of Cricket for Social Good offerings, which is something we've started to look more closely at over the last year or so. So we've partnered with a charity called Street Child United. They work with children all over the world, kids from homelessness backgrounds, foster care, children that have really experienced a lot of hardship in their life. And what we are looking to do is we're going to essentially be Team England. So we're looking for young children aged sort of 13 to 15, as you can see on the little flyer there, who've had a really challenging background, and we're going to work with them on not just a cricket program but a mentoring program as well. So we are looking to recruit youngsters, and what we're going to do is take 8 of them to the Street Child United Cricket World Cup, which is held in India in 2023, around about sort of September, October time. It will be about 2 weeks out from the actual mainstream World Cup. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for these youngsters to go and represent essentially Team England against 30 or 40 other countries in a competition. It's quite basic level of cricket. It's sort of softball cricket, really, but it's a fantastic opportunity. Really, it's a bit of a call from myself to try and reach out, whether you're someone who might know some of these youngsters who might be suitable for this, or know people that work in sort of foster care, etc., and sort of pass on this information if you can. We're very fortunate we've actually secured the KBC Indoor Centre at the Oval. So we're going to be delivering the cricket angle on a Monday from 5 till 6:30, and that's going to start at the end of April, so Monday 25th of April, and it's going to run every Monday as much as possible, apart from obviously when we can't use the venue. So that'll be the cricket angle, and the mentoring angle is very much several members of the team, including people like Mark Babb, who's on the call tonight, and a few others from the foundation team, working alongside several members of the actual Surrey County Cricket Club to deliver a kind of mentorship program with these youngsters to try and give them that opportunity to potentially unlock their potential. They may see a way of sort of coming back from essentially, I didn't feel like I was doing great in my life or doing very well at school, and now I want to go to college and study to do, I don't know, to be an engineer, or I want to be a groundsman or something like that. So we're really on a mission to help change lives and give these youngsters another opportunity. So if you do know anyone that is linked to potentially some of these youngsters out there, we'd love to hear from you. So please do get in touch. We're going to run some of the stuff on there. You can see that a residential trip we're looking to run this summer. So we'll take 20, we're looking for sort of 20 or 30 kids to be part of this program. A 3-day residential trip. There'll be lots of workshops that will be delivered on a kind of 5 monthly sort of basis, hopefully out of the Oval. So things around leadership skills, sportsmanship, digital marketing, that sort of stuff, to really give these youngsters a fantastic opportunity to be upskilled in many different ways. And then eventually, as the cricket progresses and we sort of start to work out who are the more sort of talented kids in the program, we'll then select 8 of them to go to India in 2023, which will be a fantastic opportunity for some of these kids. They'll have the time of their lives, hopefully. So if you do know anyone out there that might be suitable, or you know someone that works in that line of work that might have some contacts or know some right children, the children that would fit the sort of criteria, please do get in touch, and we'd love to sort of speak to people in the future. Cool.
Thanks, Gav. Great. I'm mindful it's almost 8:30, but we're almost there. So a couple of slides and then back to some questions. So as I mentioned earlier, we're losing John next month, so we're currently recruiting. We're recruiting for a number of roles. Grace Hill, who's our fundraising and events officer, is off to work for the London Marathon Trust, so we're recruiting for that role at the moment. John is a participation officer, and there's also some roles within the county club as well, communications manager, finance exec. So if you love cricket and you have a skill set that might fit any of those roles, we'd love to hear from you, and importantly, we'd love you to spread the word across the network. And as I mentioned, we're also going out for a trustee, particularly looking for a trustee with a background in African Caribbean cricket. That's also being publicised on the website. So if you have any thoughts on that, please get in touch or share the information that we'll share with you after the call with your network. Finishing with an event. So this is Grace's final event that she's got on sale before she heads off down the road to London Marathon. And it's last year, some of you may have come or may have been aware of the Sunset Sangakkara. And this year we've secured Graham Thorpe, obviously Surrey legend, England legend. And the event's taking place at the Oval, and we're obviously looking for people to come along. So this is we'll send the information out, but £65 per person on early bird, £80 per person after the early bird. But if you book a table of 10, it's £600. And obviously all of the funds that are secured from these events go back into the foundation and back into the sorts of things that Gav was talking about just a minute ago, support some of the grant aid funding that we give out to clubs as well. So really important that the network can share the information about some of these events to try and make sure we get good attendances to raise lots of money to support the game across the county. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. So I'll come back to John for any more questions that we might have, John.
Perfect. Cheers, Simon. Yep, so we've had a few come through. First one from Hassan from Dulwich. Who should we contact with regard to inclusion and diversity support? So you heard from Gav tonight. He's our cricket participation manager for inclusion and diversity. So I would suggest you drop him a message. I'm sure he'd be really interested to hear about the hub work you've been doing, and also include Chris Morris, your club support officer, with all those kind of conversations, because he'll be interested to see what you're doing. So, and we'll probably be able to give you further support on the ground. MJ coaching, what was the club map focus for currently accredited clubs? So the main focus is continued compliance on the Safe Hands management system. So it's ensuring that all your volunteers have got up-to-date DBSs and relevant training if you're safeguarding officers. So you can access that system and see where you are in terms of compliance on there. There will be certain documents that you need to be uploaded to the Club Map portal in due course, but it will be less intensive, and kind of the requirement won't be as big as previous years. So yeah, I think the main focus will be just getting your Club Map, your Safe Hands management system up to date and compliant. And if you want any kind of advice or whatever that would be, it would be contact your club support officer, who will have further kind of information for you and be able to kind of support you through that process as we go. So yeah, contact your club support officer. Caroline, are we targeting schools for cricket coaching in relation to the growth in the girls game? Yeah, absolutely. So a project that Jess Ward and Amy Gordon are working on is delivering sessions within schools across the county. So if you want any more information on that, again, contact me, Caroline, if you're from East Shirp. So contact me in the first instance, and I can put you in contact with Jess Ward, and we can kind of have a conversation about that, and we can maybe support Isha and the growth of the girls game at the club. Lisa from Dorking. Yep, update from ECB. Lisa, that stuff that's going to be one I'll catch up with you offline on that one. I'll get in touch with you tomorrow and give you an update for that. Jason, an update on the Oscars process. So we haven't got full information on the Oscars or the Grassroots Cricket Awards as it is now. it will be going ahead. We're looking at running the awards in August, and hopefully we'll have the criteria in June, July to go out to the network. So what we're doing a little bit differently this year is we're going to be looking at rewarding volunteers throughout the season and kind of generating those nominations from basically from March through to the criteria cutoff date, which will be July. So keep your eye out on social media, and we'll be doing some kind of interactive nomination processes to reward different volunteers from in clubs. But once we get the criteria for the Grassroots Cricket Awards through, that will obviously be disseminated across all clubs. We'll get you an update on that. And a second follow-up on the FOSS 2022. So 90% of clubs will have been contacted in the last week requesting to update direct debit details. It's just because Surrey changed systems from Ticketmaster to Secutech, so there was a loss of data on the direct debit, so we needed to renew the direct debit mandates. If you've paid previously by debit or BACS transfer, I sent an email out this week asking for payment to be made into the Surrey account. So again, that should have been there. And the only people who haven't been contacted directly so far is those who have paid by check previously, and I'll be contacting clubs tomorrow. So hopefully by tomorrow, every club who has previously been on the Friends of the Surrey Cricket or core affiliation will have been contacted with details on how to re-enroll for 2022. Is there a link you could share for the jobs, Simon? Will we send that out after?
Yeah, so that'll be included in the presentation. It'll be hyperlinked within the PDF that comes out.
Ian, not a question, but I'm sure Babby will love to read that. Give him a bit of an ego boost. But yeah, like you say, just to reaffirm, we are all here to help as club support officers. So please do get in touch when you need.
So John, I'll take the next one around the diversity and inclusion. So we are doing some great work in that space. So Gav, can I ask you to chat about the refugee work that we've been doing recently?
Yeah, sure. So just on the refugee stuff Simon's touched on, the ECB are supporting us with funding. We've recently set up a project in Croydon. So we are working with some of the refugees that came over last summer who are currently housed in some of the hotels in Croydon. We're running a session on a Thursday lunchtime for a couple of hours where we're basically giving those people an opportunity to come and access some regular cricket. So we're providing a coach that's going to the hotels and picking people up, taking them to Thornton Heath Leisure Centre on a Thursday lunchtime, doing some cricket with them to try and give them something to do during the week, because I think for many of them they're kind of just hanging around, and they're looking for stuff to do, and then at the end of the session sitting down having some tea and some snacks, and then we take them back to the hotel. So that's something we're committed to doing with them, certainly for the next few weeks anyway, whilst we see how the session's going to go. We're also working with Roehampton Cricket Club. I don't know if anyone's on the call from Roehampton. They are doing some fantastic work. They're running 5 or 6 sessions a week with several refugees that have again housed in a similar situation around the Kingston area. So we're supporting them with some funding to help with venue fees and coaching costs, and we're also looking to support, I believe Dulwich are doing some stuff off their own back, and we're going to look to support them as well. So if there's any other clubs out there, I know Merstham, there's potential for doing some work with Merstham as well, who did some stuff last summer with a group of refugees close to their location down in Red Hill. If this is something you'd look to do or want to support and do some projects out of your own club, please do get in touch. I've already spoke to the guys down at Guildford Cricket Club about doing something, so we're waiting to hear more from actually Surrey County Council around supporting some more of these projects out and about around not just South London areas, but into the wider areas of Surrey. So please do get in touch if this is something you want to discuss more, so we can see if we can support you.
Right, and to reinforce Sarah what you're saying, there is of course more we can do and more we're looking to do, and we know that, you know, there's a big challenge of how we can support across a whole range of EDI areas better, and we'll continue to do that, but continue to seek your feedback on that kind of stuff as well. Sorry, John, back to you.
No worries. Cool. So after that, Caroline, yep, we'll include you and Ali both. You're both in my boroughs, so I will. I'll be in touch offline on that. And Karen, Refugee Council has set up the Refugee Cricket Project. So that's, yeah, I think again, it's something Gav will be all over, and anything you like, anything to do with IND, please do send through to Gav. But as we've just discussed, I think we're working across some of these projects already. Gavin, this is a question for you. Do you do any work with Cricket Without Boundaries as part of your inclusion and diversity program?
Not as such, although I have been on a Cricket Without Boundaries trip, so I met Simon. If that's something you want to discuss, please do come to me, and we can see if there's any way we can kind of get involved. I've not done anything in my role in Surrey, but I did go to Uganda about 10 years ago. So if there's something we can get involved in, please do come to me and we can discuss further.
It's also worth noting that Ali from Ashford is also involved with Cricket Without Boundaries, and Chris Coleman has also been on a trip to Rwanda, I think, as well. Just coming back to Sarah's comment at the bottom there. So a great starting point, Sarah, would be to sign up for the Club for Everyone course that Club Matters is running, because that is trying to start looking at that area, and how can clubs sort of start to look at themselves from the outside in to look at, you know, how they can be more inclusive. So I definitely encourage you to do that. And obviously you may be aware there was a 12-point action plan from the ECB following the issues at Yorkshire, and you know, that has only just started to really roll out. There's not a lot of information to come out yet, but there will be a lot more that comes out. We've all undertaken some training as a starting point, but there will be a lot more support in that area moving forward.
Cool.
So,
that is it, Simon. Unless there's any other last-minute questions, I think that's back to you.
Yeah, great, thank you. So yeah, speak now, forever hold your peace is the message. So just to say before we finish, thank you very much to the team, and also, more as importantly, thank you to all of you on the call and everything that you guys do in the network. You know, the game is nothing without the club network out there and the volunteers making it happen. So hopefully, you know, you've seen from tonight and from the interactions you have with the team that we're here very much to support your ambitions. We're here to try and help, and we want to obviously work together to you know, grow and develop the game that we all love, and make it as an inclusive space as possible for people to enjoy. So on that note, thanks again for joining us. Have a lovely evening, and we'll send the recording out in due course. Okay, so take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us again.